For Creamer Media's Polity, I'm Sane Dlamini. Researcher and analyst Professor Raymond Suttner joins me for Suttner's View, a weekly commentary on South Africa's political scene. Welcome, Professor.
Hello.
It is said that Parliament has now become one of the TV channels that are mostly watched, like all over the country, because of the recent upheavals. Do you think this is a good thing for our democracy?
I think what is interesting is that the reason why people are watching it relates to the dramatic activities of the EFF. Now, if it were just that, I would not think it was important. But the dramatic activities of the EFF related to the slogan, "Pay back the money." Now, some people may just think that is funny. However, what is important about people watching Parliament when people demand accountability from the President is that it has an educational effect. People may start to make jokes, but they may also be much more aware than they were before that the duty of Parliament is to hold the executive accountable for what they do and for the monies that they have spent or they have not spent. And I think that it also highlights a greater awareness that people may now have of the duty of the President and other office bearers, according to the oaths of office, to act in accordance with the Constitution. So far more people are now aware of the foundations of constitutional democracy. They're far more aware that the majority of parliamentarians are not prepared to hold the President accountable for funding disbursed with regard to the Nkandla estate. They're not prepared to ensure that he pays back a reasonable amount as recommended by the public protector. And in a sense, what they are not doing is ensuring that the public protector's report is considered in good faith. Now, when we try to evaluate this, when we try to interpret this to the public, I think the analysts and the commentators have sometimes failed because they have said this is a case of party loyalty overriding constitutionalism. But it's not just party loyalty, it's actually loyalty to one individual, the leader of the ANC. It's got nothing to do with politics in the sense of policies like Freedom Charter or National Democratic Revolution or things like this. So it's essentially, while the public is more aware, they remain without power. They have voted for these people every few years, and when these people don't do anything, the general public remains relatively powerless. So that is a question that has to be addressed. How do you have an active citizenry in the face of the dereliction of duty on the side of the executive and Parliament?
And why do you place so little weight on the electoral reform as a way of remedying the situation?
Yes, you see, when these people refer to party loyalty and they periodically say we need a constituency system because if an MP doesn't do what he says or she says he will do or she will do when they get to Parliament, the constituency can simply recall the person. Now, if you look at the United Kingdom, it doesn't actually work like that, because once the MPs get to Parliament, they don't keep on phoning back to Bradford or Northampton or one of these places to say, can I do this, can I do that? What they do is that the party caucus in Westminster, whether it's the Labour Party or the Conservative Party, they tell their MPs, this is how we will vote on this issue. This is our position on this. Now, they may have some debate, but in the end, irrespective of what the people living in Leicester or Manchester, whatever it happens to be, may think, those MPs will vote. And there's quite a strong tradition in Britain whereby leading thinkers have said to their constituents, I owe you my judgment. In other words, you have elected me not to listen to you on every issue. You have elected this Edmund Burke who said this. You have elected me because I can judge more sensibly than the average person. Now, the problem with the constituency system also is that when you vote in our system, if you get 1% of the vote, you get 1% of the seats. So a lot of small parties get seats. In a constituency system, if you have 5 parties standing for election and one gets elected, the 4 that are unelected, those votes get completely wasted. They're not used at all. Also, in a public proportional representative system like we've got, if you earn 60% of the vote, you get 60% of the seats. In the United Kingdom, after World War II, I think it's only one government which has had a majority of the votes. They've always had a minority of the votes and much more seats than that percentage, because the constituency system is not accurately correlated between actual electoral support and the number of seats you get. Now you have it now with the BJP government in India. They won a certain amount of votes and they got much more seats. That's how it works in the constituency system. So I think people who are advocating a constituency system have got illusions about what it entails. But to summarize the question of Parliament and the public, I think that the key question we need to ask ourselves is, if parliamentarians are not doing what we as the public want them to do, what vehicles can we find for making our voices heard? I don't have clear answers, but we need discussions on that.
That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Crema Media's Polity on whether the recent upheavals in Parliament have heightened political awareness.